Every year, billions of pounds of meat are consumed across the world under the assumption that animal products sit alone at the top of the nutritional hierarchy. Entire industries have been built around that idea. Generations have been taught that strength comes from the butcher, endurance comes from the grill, and protein, the nutrient most associated with survival itself, belongs primarily to animals. But history tells a very different story. Long before refrigeration, before industrial agriculture, and before nutrition labels appeared on the backs of packages, civilizations were thriving on foods that modern culture barely recognizes. Roman soldiers marched across continents. Buddhist monks lived into old age. Desert travelers crossed unforgiving landscapes. Ancient scholars spent decades in study. And throughout their stories, one detail appears again and again: plants. Not ordinary plants, but foods so nutritionally dense that ancient physicians recorded them in medical texts, empires cultivated them at scale, and traditional cultures passed down their preparation methods for thousands of years. Modern laboratories are now discovering that many of these foods contain protein levels rivaling, or in some cases exceeding, common animal sources, while simultaneously delivering compounds that meat simply does not possess. What's perhaps most remarkable is that several of these foods have been hiding in plain sight. Some grow in poor soil where almost nothing else survives. Others were once considered sacred. One was carried by warriors into battle, and one, sitting at the top of today's list, has quietly sustained human communities for millennia despite being almost entirely absent from modern Western diets. Pay close attention to number 7. It carries a story that stretches from an ancient caravan route through the Middle East to modern clinical nutrition labs, and it may permanently change the way you think about protein itself. Let's begin. Number 10. Watercress. The Greeks called it the courage herb. Persian soldiers reportedly consumed it before military campaigns, believing it sharpened both the mind and body. Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, is said to have established one of his earliest hospitals near a stream specifically so fresh watercress would remain available to his patients. At first glance, watercress seems unimpressive. Its leaves are small, delicate, and easily overlooked among more colorful vegetables. Yet gram for gram, watercress ranks among the most nutrient-dense foods ever analyzed. 100 grams provides roughly 2.3 grams of protein while delivering significant concentrations of vitamin K, vitamin C, calcium, and nitrates, compounds increasingly studied for their effects on blood flow and exercise performance. The nitrates matter. Modern research suggests dietary nitrates may improve nitric oxide production, helping blood vessels relax and potentially increasing oxygen delivery during physical exertion. Elite endurance athletes now spend considerable sums on supplements attempting to replicate effects that traditional cultures obtained from stream-grown greens. Preparation remains surprisingly important. Watercress loses much of its delicate texture when exposed to prolonged heat. Traditional preparations favored consuming it raw or adding it to soups moments before serving. Ancient practices often survive because they work. Number 9. Lupini beans. Few foods possess a stranger history. Archaeological evidence places lupini cultivation in the Mediterranean over 3,000 years ago. Roman writers documented their use extensively, and in parts of Egypt and North Africa, they remain a staple sold by street vendors to this day. Yet despite their extraordinary nutritional profile, lupini beans remain almost unknown throughout much of the modern world. One cooked cup delivers approximately 26 grams of protein, placing it firmly within the range of many meat products. More impressive still is their fiber content, which supports digestive health while contributing to prolonged satiety. Historically, lupini carried another advantage: resilience. These plants thrive in poor soils where many conventional crops struggle. During periods of scarcity, they provided communities with a dependable source of nourishment when harvest failed elsewhere. There is, however, an important detail ancient cultures understood immediately. Raw lupini beans contain bitter alkaloids and must undergo extensive soaking before consumption. Traditional methods involved soaking the beans in flowing water for several days, changing the water repeatedly until the bitterness disappeared. Modern convenience often dismisses such practices as primitive. More often than not, they represent thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. Number 8. Quinoa. By the time Spanish explorers first encountered the Inca civilization, quinoa had already sustained communities in the Andes for thousands of years. The Inca referred to it as the mother grain. Every planting season reportedly began with ceremonial observances led by rulers themselves, a remarkable level of attention for a food crop. Yet modern nutritional science increasingly suggests that reverence may have been justified. Unlike most grains, quinoa contains all 9 essential amino acids. It is a complete protein, delivering approximately 8 grams per cooked cup alongside magnesium, manganese, and iron. Its true advantage lies in balance. Many plant proteins require combinations to achieve a complete amino acid profile. Quinoa arrives prepared. NASA has even examined quinoa's suitability for controlled agricultural systems because of its nutritional density and adaptability. A plant cultivated by ancient mountain civilizations may ultimately contribute to humanity's future beyond Earth. History has a way of repeating itself in unexpected directions. Number 7 is where our story changes. In the vast trade networks connecting Arabia, Persia, and the Indian subcontinent, caravans traveled for weeks beneath relentless heat. Their survival depended not on luxury, but on portability, nutrition, and preservation. Among the foods frequently carried were small seeds from a climbing plant known today as sacha inchi. Native to South America but increasingly cultivated worldwide, sacha inchi contains approximately 27 grams of protein per 100 grams alongside substantial quantities of omega-3 fatty acids. For centuries, indigenous communities referred to it as the Inca peanut, though it is neither a peanut nor particularly similar to one. What makes sacha inchi extraordinary is the combination. Protein alone sustains muscle. Healthy fats support cellular function. Together, they create an unusually efficient nutritional package. Modern analyses continue to identify significant levels of antioxidants and bioactive compounds, prompting growing scientific interest. Yet traditional cultures required no laboratory confirmation. They had observation. Travelers who consumed these seeds remained energetic. Communities that cultivated them continued planting them. Sometimes human history preserves the results long before science explains the mechanism. And if these plants seem remarkable, what comes next becomes even more difficult to ignore. Number 6. Hemp seeds. There was a time when hemp was so valuable that entire economies depended on it. Ancient Chinese records describe its cultivation more than 8,000 years ago. Sailors crossed oceans with ropes made from its fibers. Kingdoms taxed it, empires traded it. But hidden beneath its historical importance lies a nutritional profile that continues to surprise researchers. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds provide nearly 10 grams of complete protein, containing all 9 essential amino acids in proportions that compare favorably with many conventional protein sources. They also deliver magnesium, zinc, iron, and a balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids rarely found in a single food. Their texture is mild, almost buttery, making them easy to incorporate into modern diets. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of hemp is its efficiency. It requires relatively little water, grows rapidly, and adapts to diverse climates. In an era increasingly concerned with sustainability, ancient agricultural wisdom is once again attracting modern attention. Researchers continue investigating the broader health implications of hemp consumption, including its potential relationship to inflammation, cardiovascular health, and metabolic function. While definitive conclusions remain the subject of ongoing study, one fact remains undeniable. A plant cultivated for thousands of years continues to justify its place in human civilization. Number 5. Teff. If you've never heard of teff, you're not alone. For most of human history, this tiny grain remained largely confined to Ethiopia, where it has served as a dietary cornerstone for countless generations. Despite its small size, individual grains are scarcely larger than a grain of sand. Teff carries an astonishing concentration of nutrients. Cooked teff provides approximately 10 grams of protein per cup, along with iron, calcium, resistant starch, and a variety of minerals essential for human health. Its historical significance cannot be overstated. Ethiopia's long-distance runners, admired worldwide for their endurance and athletic achievements, have traditionally consumed teff as part of their regular diet. While athletic success can never be attributed to a single food, researchers have become increasingly interested in the grain's unique nutritional profile and its potential contribution to sustained energy production. Teff possesses another advantage that ancient communities likely appreciated even if they lack the language to describe it scientifically. It stores exceptionally well. In regions where food security often determined survival, crops capable of enduring difficult conditions became more than agricultural commodities. They became insurance policies against uncertainty. Today, as nutritionists search for alternatives to heavily processed foods, teff is gradually emerging from obscurity. What sustained one of the world's oldest civilizations may yet find a place in kitchens across the globe. Number 4. Edamame. Sometimes, the most extraordinary foods are hiding in plain sight. Edamame, the young, green form of the soybean, has been consumed throughout East Asia for centuries. Buddhist communities valued it not only for its nutritional content, but also for its versatility and accessibility. One cooked cup contains approximately 18 grams of protein, placing it comfortably among the most protein-rich plant foods available. But protein tells only part of the story. Edamame provides folate, vitamin K, manganese, and compounds known as isoflavones. These naturally occurring substances have generated considerable scientific interest, with researchers investigating their potential relationship to bone health, cardiovascular function, and healthy aging. As with many traditional foods, preparation plays an important role. Simple steaming preserves much of edamame's nutritional integrity, while excessive processing often diminishes the qualities that made it valuable in the first place. Ancient culinary traditions frequently favored simplicity, not because options were limited, but because generations of experience demonstrated what worked best. Today, soy remains one of the most extensively studied foods on Earth. Debates surrounding its role in human health continue, yet populations that have consumed it traditionally for centuries consistently offer an important reminder: context matters. A food consumed as part of a balanced dietary pattern often tells a different story than one consumed in isolation. And as remarkable as edamame may be, it still falls short of the final entries on our list. Number 3. Spirulina. Imagine discovering a food so nutritionally concentrated that international space agencies began evaluating it for future missions beyond our planet. That food already exists. Spirulina is a blue-green algae with an origin story stretching back centuries. Historical accounts suggest that the Aztecs harvested similar algae from Lake Texcoco, drying it into cakes for storage and transport. Communities near Lake Chad in Africa have practiced comparable traditions for generations. Its nutritional profile borders on the extraordinary. By dry weight, spirulina contains approximately 57 grams of protein per 100 grams, significantly exceeding many meats. It also provides iron, copper, B vitamins, and powerful antioxidant compounds such as phycocyanin, responsible for its distinctive color. Yet spirulina presents an interesting paradox. Few people consume it in quantities large enough to replace conventional protein sources entirely. Instead, it functions as a concentrated nutritional supplement, offering substantial benefits in relatively small amounts. Researchers continue exploring its potential applications in areas ranging from food security to sustainable agriculture. Its ability to grow efficiently with comparatively limited resources has positioned it as a candidate for addressing future nutritional challenges in regions facing environmental stress. There is something profoundly humbling about that possibility. A microscopic organism harvested by ancient civilizations may help feed humanity's future, but even spirulina is not our number one. Before we arrive there, we must visit a plant that has quietly sustained millions, despite receiving remarkably little attention from the broader world. Number 2. Fava beans. Long before modern nutrition science emerged, fava beans occupied a prominent place in Mediterranean diets. Archaeological discoveries indicate their cultivation dates back thousands of years, making them among humanity's oldest domesticated crops. Ancient Egyptians consumed them, Greek philosophers debated them, Roman farmers cultivated them extensively. A single cooked cup provides approximately 13 grams of protein alongside substantial quantities of folate, manganese, copper, and dietary fiber. Historically, fava beans offered something even more important than nutrition: reliability. They enriched soil through nitrogen fixation, improving agricultural productivity for surrounding crops. In societies dependent upon successful harvests, such characteristics transformed useful plants into indispensable ones. Modern researchers continue examining the broader health implications of legumes, particularly their relationship to metabolic health and longevity. Once again, contemporary science finds itself revisiting conclusions traditional cultures reached through observation. Throughout history, humans have repeatedly returned to the same foods, not because they lacked alternatives, because these foods worked. And now, after thousands of years of cultivation, we arrive at the final entry, the plant that may represent one of the most efficient protein sources humanity has ever discovered. Number 1 awaits. Number 1. Duckweed. At first glance, it hardly seems worthy of the title. Floating quietly on the surface of ponds and freshwater wetlands, duckweed appears more like a thin layer of green dust than a food capable of challenging humanity's understanding of nutrition. Children have skipped stones across it. Farmers have cleared it from irrigation channels. Most people would never imagine that beneath its unremarkable appearance lies one of the most extraordinary plants ever studied, yet modern science continues to return to the same conclusion. Duckweed may be among the most efficient protein-producing organisms on Earth. Depending on the species and growing conditions, dried duckweed can contain between 35 and 45% protein by weight, placing it in direct competition with many animal-based foods. It grows with astonishing speed, capable of doubling its biomass in a matter of days under ideal conditions. Unlike many conventional crops, it requires relatively little land and comparatively modest resources, making it an increasingly attractive subject for researchers studying sustainable agriculture. Its history stretches farther back than most people realize. Communities throughout Southeast Asia have consumed varieties of duckweed for generations, incorporating it into soups, salads, and traditional dishes. What modern laboratories describe using amino acid profiles and protein concentrations, traditional cultures often described in simpler terms: it nourished people. The plant's nutritional composition extends well beyond protein alone. Duckweed provides iron, potassium, and a range of micronutrients while maintaining an environmental footprint dramatically smaller than many conventional agricultural systems. Researchers have even begun investigating its potential role in addressing future food security challenges as the global population continues to rise. Think about that for a moment. For thousands of years, humanity searched forests, crossed oceans, domesticated animals, and built entire industries in pursuit of nourishment. And one of the most promising protein sources may have been floating quietly on the surface of fresh water all along. There is an important lesson hidden within today's list. Again and again, history demonstrates that our ancestors understood far more about food than we often give them credit for. They lacked microscopes, laboratories, and peer-reviewed journals, yet they observed. They experimented. They remembered what sustained their families through difficult seasons and passed that knowledge forward generation after generation. Modern science has not so much disproven ancient wisdom as it has increasingly confirmed it. Watercress nourished physicians. Lupini beans sustained Mediterranean communities. Quinoa fed mountain civilizations. Sacha inchi traveled alongside traders. Hemp supported empires. Teff helped sustain one of the world's oldest nations. Edamame became a cornerstone of Eastern diets. Spirulina nourished ancient peoples long before scientists understood its composition. Fava beans remained indispensable for millennia. And duckweed, perhaps the most surprising of all, continues to challenge our assumptions about what food can be. Of course, this does not mean meat suddenly becomes unnecessary, nor does it suggest that a single food holds the answer to perfect health. Human nutrition has always been more complex than simple comparisons. What it does suggest is something perhaps even more important. The world remains filled with discoveries hiding in plain sight. Sometimes they are buried beneath ancient ruins. Sometimes they are preserved in forgotten manuscripts, and sometimes they are growing quietly in fields, forests, and streams, waiting for us to look more closely. As we continue exploring the relationship between history, nutrition, and modern science, one truth becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. The future of human health may depend not only on innovation, but also on our willingness to rediscover the wisdom we left behind. So the next time someone tells you that protein belongs exclusively to meat, remember the civilizations that thrived long before modern nutrition existed. Remember the foods that endured when empires rose and fell. And remember that some of humanity's greatest discoveries are not new at all. They are simply waiting to be remembered. Which of these ancient plants surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden connections between history, science, and the natural world, be sure to subscribe. There are still countless stories waiting to be told, and many of them have been with us all along.